All right, welcome back everyone to the StarLadder I-League Star Series Season 2. I'm Noxious, and with me is Purple to cast the last match of this Bracket B of the Last Chance qualifier for the entire event. Now, this is going to be the last match that we'll be casting for the online portion. It'll decide which of Naiman or Surrender goes through to the live event. They'll be facing off against the roster of the already qualified players. If you want some information on that, you can check out the StarLadder website. As far as the matchup goes, it's already been played. I mean, if you can check on the left side of the bracket, Naiman won 4-3 over Surrender earlier today, but it wasn't a blowout, not by any means. In fact, it came really close. Surrender got a lot of really good coin flip wins against Naiman, so that helped a ton with flame jugglers and whatnot. But if Naiman can just get his aggressive game plan to work out, I think Surrender could just lose a bit faster.
I actually have not watched Naiman in this tournament, but from my understanding is he's actually running Aggro Paladin.
So it's Aggro Paladin, Pirate Face Warrior, Zoo, and a Yogg Tempo Mage. So yes, it's as aggressive as it's going to get in the current environment, I think. Maybe a Face Hunter slapped on top would have made this a bit nicer, but it's kind of hard to pilot
if you go
that
Face
type
Hunter,
of list anywhere.
If you go Face Hunter over the Aggro Paladin, it's going to get really tricky for Rogue to actually ever win a game in Conquest.
You mean, well, the thing is, that's kind of the issue is right now, like the Pirate wins automatically against Rogue. The Paladin wins against the Rogue pretty well as well. The only issue is, of course, a good Fan of Knives at the wrong time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get blown out. The Zoo list is definitely anyone's game.
Yeah, it's definitely the weakest one for the Pirate Warrior. Pretty sick hand for Surrender. Backside SI.
Opening with Rogue, which is his worst deck against Naiman's lineup. So he's going to try to get a win, hopefully, with this one. And if that gets sealed, then suddenly the other three decks have a chance of carrying him to 4 wins. But that opener from Naiman gives him a decent play on turn 1, which, as Warrior, there's not a billion of them you're happy to get.
Honestly, I think this is a good queue up by Surrender. You just kind of hope, hey, my opponent's going to queue Zoo first. Let's just get Rogue out of the way, try to get the favorable matchup. Let's get lucky.
It's just a mistake because Naiman might queue up Zoo as it is his weakest deck, right? And maybe then Surrender does play something a bit more standard to try to get those wins.
Zoo is actually just pretty much a great startup deck in any series because it's well-rounded against every deck. And as long as there's not Brazen Age in the lineup, I guess.
Yeah, maybe that's what Naiman anticipated. Thought, well, Rogue is also his better deck against my Zoo, so it's one of the few matchups, rather, that the Rogue will win or can win, as opposed to the rest. All right.
This hand absolutely sucks for Naiman, but I could actually see him winning this.
Oh, there we go. It's starting to get better.
That is a great pickup.
Yeah, and suddenly Surrender's going to have to fight on multiple fronts. He's bathed in light. This guy's a paladin.
There's already 14 damage in hand.
Cold Blood is one of those equalizers, though.
Yeah, Cold Blood's actually a pretty good pickup. This game's not going towards like the gadget turns. This matchup is very much a race for Rogue, and Cold Blooding like the first minion that 6 is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, having the Blood Mage to cycle to something like, say, Earthring Farseer to contest the board, pick up maybe a Tomb Pillager, which is a bit tricky to remove if they don't have a, like, say, a Fiery War Axe that was buffed up. We saw Naiman play a bit of trading game earlier. What's up?
I very much like coin backstab SI to set up Blood Mage Cold Blood next turn on the SI.
I kind of like that too.
The Blood Mage has no chance of sticking. Naiman's just going to dagger it down to force Surrender to dagger up and kill his 1/1. So.
I kind of like that play. The more you mention it, it kind of makes sense because the only way your SI blows up is if he uses a weapon charge on it most of the time, and
the pirate curve is real.
Yeah, well, you know.
Also, you don't have any combos for the SI anymore besides winning it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's
good try there.
It's gonna get checked by Heroic Strike, though, I think.
Yeah, Naiman is likely to do so. We've seen him do a bit of trading earlier. Mortal Strike is even better because that way you don't have to waste one of the precious cheap damage outputs.
It's the same amount of damage for the same cost for the most part. Coin Shiv SI probably, or Shiv Coin SI.
Sure.
Drake's pretty greedy given that you only have 1 backstab left in the deck.
Okay, Surrender is looking pretty sweet. That prep gives him a lot of.
Actually, you could have went also just sap coin outside. And just, like,
expensive replay.
Yeah, it's a 4-mana 3/3. Is your opponent's best turn like 4-mana 3/3? Probably not. Using the heroic strikes to control damage. I don't mind it. I like that. I like Teacher Prep Sap. Yeah. You're guaranteed to get something to curve into Drake Coldblood next turn.
The only disaster is if he picks up the Fiery War Axe off the top, suddenly you gave him a weapon that can be buffed up and combined with the 1/1 on the board to kill your Violet. But even then, you still have bodies that there's no AoE against, and you're good to go.
Surrender's thinking about cold-blooding it this turn. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that, because one of the best ways to remove it involves smashing your face into it with a big weapon, or using a lot of your important spells.
Second Mortal Strike, really. And that opens you up. You get the Drake and your natural draw to draw the second Cold-Blood. And then you can
get another water one.
Yeah, very relevant.
More un-AoEable targets, because the Naiman's deck is, again, very aggressive. There's nothing in there that's going to find a way to deal 1 damage in mass. Like, there's no Ravaging Ghoul in it, so...
Oh, Naiman's never luck. He doesn't pick up the War Axe. I actually think he just straight up won the game on the spot if he drew War Axe here.
Well, is there an argument to be made for ignoring the teacher and just push with the Horse Rider?
I don't...
2 Leroy is 10. You have a total of 13. You need 6 more. That's a Reaper away from a win, let's say. So I think pushing might be a bit too greedy.
There's a realistic chance that Naiman actually just thinks this 3/4 is actually going to push 3. So protecting it's actually somewhat good.
Yeah, exactly. Like that, the option of going full face was okay.
Oh, what a draw. What
an insane draw there for Surrender. Denies the 3/4 from doing anything. And just like that, he's the aggressor against this Pirate Warrior. What is going on? Arcanite Reaper could still turn this around.
Double Horse Rider, but Naiman almost has no burst left in his deck.
Heroic Strike's gone. Warm Mode Strike is gone. There is Reapers with possible upgrade, but that's 3 turns. You don't have 3 turns against this board.
But 5 mana, 5 damage is not really burst. It's good. Now. It's good when it's actually set up. Oh, Shadow Strike. Probably not game played. Your opponent can't 13. You have 2 cards.
Never mind. We're shopping. Yeah. We're all in. Let's do this. Let's kill one of these guys and push with the Drake.
Yeah, then your guy doesn't die on board. You've already seen 1 Mortal Strike. So in your calculations, even in your calculations, Mortal Strike plus Korkron is the highest output at this point anyways. So even if you're putting him in Mortal Strike range, it's not actually that relevant.
Yeah, I guess the only drawback is if there's in the hand right now some kind of weapon play or a Korkron. As you said, Mortal Strike, and then like say Korkron Mortal Strike would be annoying. Those 2 together, where he kills the Drake with the weapon and then pushes 4 with a minion, that's the closest thing to annoying play.
Maybe Coldblood's the 1/1.
Or keeps it for Leroy.
I guess he just daggers face. That's fine too. He has 10 in
hand.
There's no way the Pirate Warrior of 2 cards in hand is clearing this board. So this guarantees lethal anyways.
Naiman is gonna go down to his best matchup.
Yep. Not like a super explosive start. He missed Warrior Axe and Reaper.
Yep, the 2 weapons you need to get. Against Rogue, I think it comes down to those weapons, given the fact that they've got no heals. You can always trade with those without expending cards.
It's not just Rogue, it's just like the best. They're the best cards in the deck. And you saw,
Reaper upgrade, that's 18 damage right there, ladies and gentlemen. 2 cards.
Yep.
Yeah. I guess Doomhammer comes close to beating that.
Like the Cultist just getting value on a weapon just gives you enough to kill Rogue, and we would have seen that this game had he drawn a weapon.
He didn't find a single one, so 2 Reapers, 2 War Axes. All he got was the hook from the Pirate, and no way to buff it up either at the point where he had it. So he's gonna try to play for the win either way. Try to remove.
Is he Leroying into Nazar Drake?
With Abyss being a possibility, I mean on board right now with Abyss.
You're dead the Abyss Cold-Blood, Leroy.
You're to everything. If there's burst, you're dead.
Yeah.
And Naiman losing against the Rogue, that must feel a little bad. Surrender is probably relieved. He breathes a sigh of relief there. You can see it in the webcam. So that's one of the decks he didn't want to lose with ever, and the fact that he got it on the first try against a bad matchup, he's still not out of the woods, because the Zoo from Naiman, there's the Hunter and the Shaman, it's likely good against.
I think the Hunter is going to be pretty hard to validate as well.
Yeah.
The Pyro War is pretty good if you draw reasonably against that deck. So is Zoo's really good against that deck. I haven't played Ebola Did in forever, so I don't know how the matchup goes.
It's down to Unleash again still. It's all about that.
There's not even Juggler Unleashed though, so it's like not even a huge swing turn.
Yeah, it's really down. I think it comes down to having Freezing Trap up for when they try that sneaky play with some kind of kings. And if you can deny that, that might work. But it also, Choose Over Champion gets so much value against your mid-range minions, so Divine Shields are tough to remove. Everything pushes damage. It's so difficult to stall them.
Also goes space for 8 and heals you for 4. The card's good.
Yeah, I mean, you end up taunting up a big minion with Houndmaster, and out comes Keeper of Uldamon, negating everything you've done.
So most of the time, this matchup is Shaman favored.
Shaman is Zoo favored.
Yeah, it's Zoo favored, excuse me. Shaman can do Shaman things and steal the win.
Yeah, it happened earlier. Surrender did exactly that, picked up a really good curve, and denied Zoo the ability to win the game.
As Surrender, you're looking at this Abuse Sergeant, you're like, this is my only current play in my hand, and I'm going to get absolutely smashed by Possessed Villager and Voidwalker. So
if you keep it to deny the Voidwalker, you have Rockbiter, but I'll be damned if that feels good.
However, you just straight up win on the spot if they don't have either of those two 1-drops. Like if they play Flame Imp on 1, you can actually just go face with that Abusive Sergeant, and they're at 25 to start the game, which is really good.
And Sir Naiman has a crazy hand though. This Abusive Sergeant's not going to do very much. Oh man, Tusker Toteme could still salvage this a little bit. There's ways.
Naiman is just like, all right, this Possessed Villager is always going to stick. I can therefore just cold-blooded it, or power-bombing it and trade into Totem Golem. Unfortunately, draws the second one, so not so good right now.
If you go double Possessed Villager on the opener, it's perfectly fine, I think.
Yep. It's definitely not going to be a Coin Peddler.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I guess the Abusive Sergeant would really surprise me. So when we have the 2/1/1s on the board that can't be removed, there's no Earth Shocks. Surrender is batting his eyes in anger.
Yeah, looking a little sad here. So Totem here just kind of...
Oh, wow. No way this just happened.
That means the Abuse Sergeant's going to get the trade into this Peddler rather than into one of those Step Rattles.
Yeah, and the Tusker Totemic has a 14% chance to get a Totem Golem, making this game a little bit less lopsided than we made it out to be at first. And he also gets to play the 7/7 on curve, which baits out the POs, removing potential trade-ups later on.
Doesn't get it, but Flame Tongue has 3 health rather than the basic totem, so I guess it's pretty good. Darkshire Councilman seems like a fine play here with the double trade into the 5/2.
Agreed. You get it buffed up to 3/5 right away.
The only immediate thing coming out from a Flame Tongue is a Horse Rider, which is not enough to kill the 3/5 anyways.
So Lava Burst and Abusive will give him the ability to clean up one of the 1/1s, kill off the Darkshire before something disastrous happens, like Forbidden Ritual even on 4 would be a nightmare, Defend of Argus. That's one of the lines of play he can take.
I think the best play here is Lava Burst and Abuse Sergeant Flame Tongue and take a kill.
Yeah, seems reasonable to me. And you do keep something on board.
Like, what hand do you actually beat by playing the 7/7? You lose to Argus, you lose to Power Overwhelming.
You lose to everything.
There's very few hands you can actually beat.
Voidwalker comes out and you lose against it anyway, right?
Yeah, you lose to Voidwalker. There's just so many cards that you can't beat doing that. The Abuse Surgeon and the Lava Burst allows you to be ahead of Flame Tongue on board.
At the end of the sequence, technically, yeah, that would help you do that. And the fact that you can always play Totemic as a follow-up with the Overload is fine. And if it weren't for that Totemic, maybe you'd hesitate a bit more, but I still think the fact that Shaman has such a difficult matchup, you have to take the chance.
And the play is particularly good because Naiman has 2 Power Overwhelmings and an Abuse Surgeon in hand. So he had like the hard punish to the 7/7.
Yeah.
You
Curse the caster information. This play would have been horrible on all fronts. 'Cause we knew what he had.
Second Flame Tongue would be pretty good. The 3/4 is pretty damn good as well.
Well, he gets a really sick follow-up here. He gets a Searing Totem, so not too exciting.
Actually, the worst.
Yeah.
On board, the 2/4 probably kills the Flame Tongue. The 1/2 runs into the 1/1 now. And Naiman's probably tapping here.
I mean, Surrender does get a really good swing turn if he wants next turn with Totem, Flame Juggler, plus Thing from Below. That could happen, and then follow up with a 7/7. It's not quite over yet, but...
I'd probably go up to 7/7 this turn. With the Flame Juggler, and then play Things from Below on the overloaded turn.
So now that the Goldshire Footman's up, is that still your play? Since it wasn't traded away.
It'll probably die to the Flame Juggler, right?
Nah. I like the optimism. All right, that's perfectly fine too. Right? Gives you a trade. You can play Thing from Below on the back of it, kill the imp, and then you're ahead, quote unquote, on board. Because the immediate board does not kill everything you've got.
Yep.
Good enough. You'd Flame Juggle instead? I don't think you would.
No, I played it. Well, there were 3 really good targets. Well, 2 really good targets, but playing a 5/5 in all cases is better than playing a 2/3.
Yeah, Surrender is hesitating, but really I feel like if he hopes to keep that 5/5 alive, making sure the Direwolf has to smash itself into it is one of the ways to do it.
He's got him if he has to double trade here, but Naiman doesn't have to double trade. Abusive Argus seems like a play. You could also go with Life Tap, Knife Juggler Abuse Sergeant. Juggling down the 2/1 is pretty good here.
Yeah, Surrender won a few of those coin flips earlier in the previous series. We'll see whether or not
you get 2 draws there, right?
Comes up.
Oh, he misses the first one. Now it comes down to a 50-50. It's actually pretty important because the 2/1 challenges the Wolf and the Juggler, and he gets it.
All right, Surrender will have a decent Flame Juggler here, given the fact that there's 2 targets to hit. So it's like a 40% to hit something you want. Still not going to win a game, but it's something, and there we go. That helps a bit.
Still quite important. This matchup's just a fight for the board. And
good luck.
4 mana 7/7 gets killed by Beast Surge and Power Woman. 2 mana beats 4 mana.
So much for the complaints about a 4 mana 7/7. 0 mana 8/8 Sea Giant.
I think people complain about Power Woman too, though. To be fair.
To be fair, I think that card is... I thought it was going to get changed with the rotation. I was 100% sure it would see a little bit of a difference in the way it was working. But Surrender leaves the game, realizes, you know what, this started off okay, and then it went downhill way too quick for me. I'm out of here. And then he will equalize the series.
He doesn't have Destruction in his list, I guess. Even with Destruction, he wasn't really in it anyways.
Yeah. All right, well, that brings the Warlock out of the lineup for Naiman. That was one of the decks that was a bit difficult to win with from what we understood at first. But now the Rogue's out, I feel like the Pirate Warrior doesn't have any of those amazing matchups anymore. It can't farm anything on its own, aside from the Hunter, maybe.
I think it's pretty good against Reno and Hunter, actually.
Okay. Even Reno, interesting.
Because you can get enough damage in before Reno to kill them before Reno. If the game gets to 6 and there's a Reno on curve, the Pirate Warrior is going to lose. But the objective is just to win before that.
Yeah, I mean, he's not playing any type of list like the one that we saw from Life Coach earlier, which had Ooze and Harrison Jones. So big weapons are likely to stick around, with the only the Ooze being there. And even if the Ooze comes out to take off one weapon, that can be managed anyway. So he's going to queue up the Shaman again, and Naiman's going to queue up the Warrior this time.
Yep. I already see a Tunnel Trog in Surrender's hand, so that's a good start. Is Rock Biter a keep, maybe? There's like the Blood Cell Corsair that you have to worry about. Oh, Naiman's hand's just awful again.
Well, he starts on, he's the first to play, right? So Saucy Deckhand on the opener means that he gets to swing first. Yep. And if Surrender plays, say, Tunnel Trog, It can be dealt with Heroic Strike if you want, but Totem Golem comes in to ruin your day. Rough patch.
It feels really bad. It feels really bad Heroic Striking.
A one drop, yeah.
Yeah, or minions in general.
That right there actually salvages the opener because suddenly the hook and the South Sea together can handle the Tunnel Chug.
Double 1-3 seems pretty good here.
Open up with Finley, see what he finds.
Yep. This matchup, you're probably looking for something like the Mage Hero Power.
Do you ever see him wait and play Tunnel Chog with the Totem Golem on 2 off the coin, or does he just smash the Chog here?
I think he just plays the Chog. He takes heal over Warrior, and what was the last one?
I think it's our Rogue.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Not like premium choices from this Finley.
Oh,
the priest healing is just not bad in this context.
Oh, speaking of no premium, Naiman's hand is absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, that's twice in 2 games. He's drawn 2 Heroic Strikes by turn 2.
But it does get better if Horse Riders come up back-to-back with Core Crown Elites, and then the Reaper gets to swing. Suddenly the Heroic Strikes are a lot better, as long as you dodge Feral Spirits and things from below. There's no more totems coming out, right? That Stoneclaw is only off of Totemic.
Playing against Shaman, a key thing is to dodge the Shaman cards. That's why when I play Shaman, I'll often include just 30 Shaman cards in my deck.
We did the math. It's the best. 30 Shaman cards.
He can pirate into one of the 1-3s. And
I think he's got to. I think he has to kill the Chog.
Heroic Strike was the alternative into the Trog. Putting 5 damage into that Trog does not feel good, though.
Yeah. Well, the Horse Rider's coming up on the wrong side of the board for Naiman to be happy, but...
Surrender's just like, what's up? I'm drawing the nuts.
I've got a good hand. What about you? Oh, I'm just sitting there with my Heroic Strikes. My Dread Corsairs who die to your 2-drop.
The Dread Corsair could be insane, actually, as a pickup. If he finds a turn 4 play, that Dread Corsair is going to come down with the Arcanite Reaper on turn 5. He just needs to find something to do this turn, realistically.
So there's always the Bloodcell Cultist on 3. There's another natural Corsair could also weave itself in here. As a 4-drop. Core Crown Elite is in the deck, we know that much.
I think the play here is Flame Tongue and get him.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, you're setting up a really good Argent Horse Rider on the following turn, and you have the Abusive to go with it as well.
Yep, just curves out to use all your mana, and makes this Finley into a threat, really.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you have the option as well to try to keep your guys alive against this matchup, because having board control is usually what you try to do against Zoo. But being that Naiman does not have any big weapons, otherwise, why would you sacrifice a South Sea instead of Fiery War Axing, for instance? Healing this guy up keeps him out of range of Horse Rider, and then you don't have to waste damage on his minions later on.
Yeah, you'd be pretty sad if this gets Horse Ridered, actually. That's a good point.
It decides to heal himself, so that's creating a health gap. What a health gap, in fact. I didn't expect that to come out.
4 mana 7/7s are definitely better than 4 mana 3/3s.
With Taunt. You mean 0 mana 5/5 with Taunt is better than Dread Corsair? I've never heard of that. What is that card you speak of? Blizzard would never print that. Oh, that's a crazy draw for Surrender. One of the cards you have to dodge if you're Naiman.
Yeah, no whirlwind effects in this deck, so you can just go ahead and do this. Barrels is going to be a bummer.
And the healing is so bad also for Naiman.
This Arcanite Reaper has to go face, I guess.
Do you ever armor up Finley and try to pick up a ping? That might work out. It gives you a bit of health. You can remove one of their minions in your 1/3 contest, or 2/1 for now.
Then I guess you're just going to start drawing into weapons.
That's a pretty good hero power. Not half bad. Yeah. You do need to find upgrade, though, in order to make this Arcanite Reaper relevant this match. Oh man, more damage output, taunts, Flame Tongue, everything is lining up for Surrender.
Yeah, this Flame Tongue's really good this turn. Yeah, no whirlwind effects, so just gonna value trade with the Finley, keep everything alive. Yes, 7, 9, 11, plus 5 in hand, 16 damage. Naiman's at 5.
Naiman is effectively dead. He's going to Mortal Strike the Flame Tongue, understanding that he has to take it out, which obviously he has to. But look at that. He's dealt no damage to the Shaman, who's got a Priest hero power, and has been taking, dealing damage to his opponent. I think Surrender is just going to autopilot.
Oh, that's not the best top deck. Maybe that gives Naiman a chance to recover.
Or Corsair draw, for instance, would give him a minion on board.
Kor'kron Elite would be pretty good.
You can use your hero power to take out the 2-1 on top. And okay, that's no help at all. It kills something, but it doesn't help you win the game. And Naiman goes down again with the Warrior. I think losing to that Rogue was the really pivotal point of the series.
Well, with the 2 draws he's had with that deck, I don't think he can beat any deck. He's just drawn so poorly. Double Heroic Strike in your hand on turn 2 with a Leroy. I think he had Leroy in his opening hand again, in both games as well.
Yeah, he's got a really bad draw, but I think these types of decks also suffer from that very often. It's like playing aggro Rogue. You'll find that very often you stumble upon some of those mid-game push cards, and if you don't seize the initiative early, then you still end up losing. So
sometimes you draw the nuts, sometimes you don't. Double 1-drop seems like a pretty good opening.
That's kind of the nuts, actually, for that type of deck, yeah.
Yeah. Double 1-drop on 1, 2-drop on 2, Dread Corsair on 3.
And more importantly, those 1-drops synergize, right? They can attack face, and you actually get damage in on a Reno lock of all classes. 1
mana Bluegill Warrior, pretty legit. The Demon Raft's looking like a reasonable card in Surrender's hand, but it won't be able to contest the 3/3 Blood Cell that will be coming out next turn. And no Reno in sight. He does have the Tastingo as defense, so.
Yeah, that's going to be very good, unless Naiman, oh god, I was going to say picks up a weapon to defuse it alongside the Pirate leftover from Demon Wrath.
Yeah, so he's going to get rid of all these charges. Next turn's probably going to be the Frothing Berserker. And then the turn after will be War Axe and Blood Cell Corsair.
Yeah, I imagine the Surrender ever...
Oh my.
That is crazy. All right, perfect hand there for Naiman to keep going.
And this is the type of hand that you want to be drawing. And if this game goes longer than turn 6, you're going to die anyways. Actually, I like the Tastingo a touch more than the Spellbreaker here. Given, Naiman's deck doesn't play Whirlwind effects. It doesn't actually.
I know why he did it. I know why he did it. The reasoning behind that was I get to Cult Apothecary at least. Whereas if I play Dingo, they trade in and then they die, and I get less healing. And now.
And then you still have the Tastingo for later turns. I guess that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't have Reno right now. Oh. He's hesitating, right? There's a.
You heal 6. You go to 18 or 11 on board, so you're at 5. You're only dead to Leroy if you do that as 1-card combinations. But can you actually win the game doing that is the thing.
If you go Bran and Ooze, you can get double Cult Apothecary. If the Bran is killed, then that's damage away from your face. But you just died to big.
Then you're dead to 4, which is a really bad number against this deck. There's Mortal Strike, Heroic Strikes, Kor'kron Elite. Then you're dead.
There's a lot.
The play might be Tastingo, which now this is
it tanks
better.
5. It tanks 5. This tanks 6 plus a body on board. I think this is always optimal compared to Tastingo.
Yep.
All right. Well, the cultists will give Naiman a bit more mileage if he wants to buff up that weapon.
You might want to kill this 4/4 to play around Reno
or Shadow Flame, but the Reaper kind of doesn't matter. Makes it not matter.
Well, if you don't want to lose your board if you get Reno'd back and he's back at 30, because you want that board to hit him in the face again. And that's not Ooze Tastingo. The Tastingo dies perfectly to the Reaper, and then there's 6, 8, 10, 13 on board for the win for Naiman. And this is just again no Heroic Strikes, no Leroy in the opening hand. He just gets a much nicer curve, much nicer hand, and kills him on the Reno Jackson turn.
It feels pretty good. I mean, I like the way that this deck came out. It's the first time we've seen it come out that well in the event so far. For all the good, we've been talking about it for against some of the decks and the aggression it can put together. We'd not seen it yet. So Naiman will equalize the series again. I feel like we've had a lot of those grindy, 1 and then 1. It feels like coin flipping against each other. at this stage, just trading wins. And Naiman's Paladin, the aggro Paladin, I wonder how it fares against the Reno log. That's one of the decks that I have zero idea about.
Divine Favor is a heck of a card.
Yeah, that's the one big play that they've got. On the flip side, the Mage that Naiman has was also his weakest deck, it felt, when we played. And we saw him play a bit earlier.
This is a really good matchup for the deck, however. You're playing almost the same amount of burn as Freeze Mage, and you're playing these early minion pressure cards to just push a bit of damage. It's just, this deck reminds me a lot of aggro Freeze Mage.
Yeah, well,
especially
the Chinese
Acolyte of Pains. Yeah, but instead of playing Cabalist Tomb, you just try to kill people. So
yeah.
Then Yogg does something sometimes. I don't know if Yogg's is in Naiman's deck, but
it is in there.
Yeah. This deck's really, really good at beating mid-range and control. It's Naiman's deck's a lot. It just does not fare well against aggro, however. It's just
other Reno decks. We saw other Reno decks be a lot more minion-centric, whereas I think Surrender's list is a lot more about combo. And because of that, it's really, it's very difficult. Stensivka had a combo-less deck. Life Coach had a combo-less deck. And as a result, decks like those are a little bit easier to fight off. But when you're hoping to gather combo pieces, there's no time for that.
This is the curve for the Tempo Mage. This is insane.
When even Reno may not save you, you know it's a curve.
There's just so much damage here.
Next turn is looking pretty sweet.
Dump your hand, reload with the Drakes and the Acolyte of Pains and the Arcane Intellect. That's how you play this deck.
And he gets to even play Arcane Blast on an enemy minion. There was no target at the moment, but look at this. This is disgustingly powerful. And he gets the Arcane Intellect on the back of this. I don't even know. And
Naiman has Steam for days. And there's... Hellfire is not good enough. Shadow Flame can't be played.
Yeah, he's going to hold on to the spells he's got to make sure that he doesn't get blown out, which makes obvious sense. There's no reason to smash yourself into this. The Drake lets you lose it to a Fireball. If you play Spellbreaker, you might be able to mitigate a bit of damage from Flame, but you're still very weak on board.
The Flame Wake, I guess there's a remote chance this gets Fireballed. Oh, there's a Yogg. And because Naiman does have to be a bit afraid of Shadow Flame, right?
We saw him play around it a lot earlier.
I would probably just coin Flame Waker Mirror Images and get him.
Yeah, I mean you do get an extra 2 pinks from this one on the coin, and then 4 more from this.
If you can probably trade in the Sorcerer's Apprentice if this gets hit twice, but play around the Shadow Flame.
No, sure, that might be perfectly fine. You don't need the spell discount anymore. You've already dumped all your spells. Yep. So Surrender's getting God drawn, and he's looking at this like, well, I don't. What is going on here?
And I believe spell is lethal. 4, 5, and no Fireball off the top.
You know, Jackson off the top could still buy Surrender an extra turn, but he needs to wipe the board on the back of that. Which, playing around Shadow Flame, you do need to make trades still.
Yeah, he doesn't quite have the burn, so he's just gonna play around the Shadow Flame so that he has a. Like, Shadow Flame into Reno is certainly a hand he could lose to, potentially.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of slowing down Naiman, though. He's got Arcane Missiles for 5 damage, but he does want a Fireball. That is a ton of damage.
Is that one-off lethal? 5, 10, 12, 13 damage?
Damage? I believe it is.
He just saves it just in case the Reno happens. It seems fine.
Yeah. Cult Apothecary would give Surrender an extra 8 health in the spot. Kodo could kill the Flame Waker. There's always that remote chance.
Well, if you Emperor, then you can go Brand Kodo and...
Do you expect... I mean, I guess that's a big threat. People might try to kill it. And the Mirror Image guy is not quite what he wanted. But he's still not dead based on what we see in Naiman's hand. But he's dead on so many draws.
Sometimes he's dead here.
Do you ever go Acolyte Ping, Sorcerer's Apprentice? Because if you Acolyte Ping, you get the free draw and the free spells anyway.
You definitely go Acolyte Ping. The Sorceress is maybe an overextension.
I mean, you get the free missiles with her, right?
Oh wow, he's actually just gonna gonna forgo the Acolyte, and because he actually wants to ping his opponent in the face probably, or ping one of the minions.
He can still ping Acolyte at the end of the turn.
Oh my goodness, all 3 missiles go face, so chance for lethal here.
Didn't finish him off. He's actually Oh, gets it.
Exactly.
Yep. All right. Well, Naiman took that win really quick.
Yeah, that's that deck. How to draw the nuts.
Power of Mage. You don't see it all the time, but when it comes out, it feels like I haven't seen those types of Mage decks. There was like a limbo, I feel, between the release of the rotation and standard and the appearance of these types of decks. I feel like it took a while for them to solidify and come in the metagame.
I actually feel like there wasn't a set of cards Surrender could have had in his Reno Lock deck that allowed him to win that game. I feel it was just given the
Shadow Bolt. Shadow Bolt would have helped a lot.
Yeah, Shadow Bolt, Soulfire into Hellfire or something, but I don't know. That's and behind it.
Still not enough.
there was Arcane Intellect, Azure Drake, and Acolyte of Pain. So like even after you deal with that, there's just more and more burn. I don't think the Reno was even good enough at that point.
It buys you an extra health pool, but you have to use it early, otherwise you end up getting blown out from like 15.
He would have just gone back to 15 after the Reno, and eventually he would have died to fireballs and frostbolts and torches. So that matchup feels really bad from the Reno luck, especially when the Tempo Mage just draws the nuts.
Well, that's potential match point for Naiman. If he can take this, he's going to be moving on to the land finals. He's got Paladin, 2 tries to win with the aggressive Paladin, one of which is against a Warlock, which draws a lot of cards, and he plays double Divine Favor in the Paladin list.
I don't know if he saved the Paladin because he's the least comfortable with it, or he thinks it's his worst deck in his lineup.
He won first try with it the 2 times he played it, if I recall, so I can't imagine he feels too bad about it.
What's really good about it is no one practices against it. No one knows like what I'm playing around. You don't have that reflex of I have to play around this on this turn, this on this turn. This is my best play because I've play tested this 1,000 times over. I haven't played against Aggro Paladin. I've maybe faced it once this season, and I haven't played the deck myself in probably the last 6 months. So it's like this curveball that Naiman's lineup just throws at you. It's just like, hey, you've never practiced against this. I grind this deck on ladder like few hours a day. I know what I'm doing. So I like Naiman's position to seal this Paladin deck.
Yeah, I don't think Surrender would put in too much time practicing against this type of list. Right? We were talking about that earlier with Firebat. I think Naiman's whole lineup is basically a big slap in the face of playtesting, because they might have built a lineup they're comfortable with. They know the decks and the matchups in general for the top tier decks. Maybe the Zoo for Naiman is figured out, but the Mage, the Paladin, the Warrior, that's pretty much like you're going in blind. You know what you're supposed to try to do, but the exact tempo plays that work and the damage you have to play around, that's more or less up in the air.
I know the Pirate War in particular. On ladder, I'm just like, I don't want to practice against this. I just hope I just don't play against it.
Right.
Please stop hitting me in the face, please.
Yeah, one of the things with that deck too is that even if you practice against it, it still boils down to just trying to mitigate damage. And if you tech your deck against it too much, you end up having a horrible deck against everything else. So you might as well just ignore it and play, assuming they're not going to curve out perfectly, which is more often than not the case for that deck.
Yeah, if you tech control to beat Pirate Warrior, you're not going to have very good matchups otherwise. Otherwise, you just end up playing aggro yourself to beat the Pirate Warrior.
One of the good balanced approach, I think, is Life Coach's Reno Lock, where we saw Hearthstone and Ooze. Well, it was still very good against the rest of the field. Aside from other combo decks like the other Reno Lock, I think the Life Coach's Reno was fine.
And the Pirate against Reno match we saw today, Ooze and Harrison didn't matter, no? It's just like there's just way too much, way too early.
Yeah, it's like we wish we had Dark Bomb in a nutshell, is what we're getting at.
Yeah. Soulfire might actually become one of my 2-0s in Reno. Like, card's really good against aggro.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were trying out the Double Peddler a while back, but, weaving it in is a lot tougher than Soulfire. The issue is how often... Like, Surrender had a series where he ended up discarding the Reno, actually. Like, in a 6-card hand. And he played planning for that. It was so obvious, and it just went poof.
Yeah. You gotta take some risks sometimes. Sometimes you're just going to pitch to Reno and, Hopefully it doesn't happen in tournaments.
Yeah, well, Naiman's going to be playing the Paladin. I guess the players are getting ready here to queue up. Surrender seems to be hesitating as to what to queue into this, but he's got to win anyway, so just pitch it.
He's got to win on both. You go with your comfort pick, whichever deck you're better at, for sure, first.
So the momentum's on your side a little bit for the second match.
Yeah, you win a game, you just feel a bit better about yourself, and positive attitude actually goes a long way in Hearthstone.
I'm going to win that coin flip. You lose it. It's not a problem. I can still win the next one. No worries. Oh, man, Naiman with the opening hand. I can't even tell you how insane this hand is.
You got the Crazy Alchemist for the Doomsayer. You got a 1-drop and a 2-drop. I guess you pitch... I've seen Naiman play a tiny bit of this deck, and he tends to mulligan for one of his higher value cards so that he just doesn't run out of steam. Like I've seen him keep Blessing of Kings off the mulligan playing this deck before.
I think keeping one is definitely okay.
Yeah, because you have so much early. Like if you just don't hit any of your so on quote unquote big cards, you're actually just gonna run out of stuff. Be it a combination of like small guys in Divine Favor or small guys in Blessing of Kings or Alderman. And you definitely want something just to stick through the Hellfire. That's for sure. Demon Wrath would have been insane here, but...
Right, that's why he opted. I mean, he knows that the use will get value at some point. The only issue is there's 4 weapons, 2 Rallying Blades, 2 True Silvers. So Naiman here with a really, really good board. A Hellfire coming out, if the Keeper of Uldamon's played, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Even Horse Rider can deny that. And
I like the
Coin
Kings. I like the Coin Kings. You get Hellfire, you got a 6-2 with Divine Shield.
Let's do it.
Oh, he puts it on the 1-1. That's
Spellbreaker, I guess. Prevention. It doesn't really matter because in that case it would have gone on the 2-1, I think. Because he gave him a good coil here, right?
It has taunt, which is an argument, I guess.
Yeah, that's probably exactly it.
Well, I think Surrender's almost dead here.
Yeah, I mean that extra king's on top of it. This whole thing is just it's gonna rub salt in the wound.
Surrender doesn't have Spellbreaker. You could just go hard and make a 9/9.
I mean, if Spellbreaker was there, I imagine that would have come out here. It's much better than playing the Refreshment Vendor, so...
There's no way Surrender has Spellbreaker in his hand right now.
Yeah, and this is out of reach of a Hellfire after the Hellfire in the trade.
It's actually the best play, because it would play around big Powerbomb and Shadowflame.
This is unbelievable.
If the play is Blessing of Kings, of course, this turn.
I mean, I think Powerwhelming Shadowflame still takes it, right?
This is really clean, though. So this is just beautiful as well.
Get a Divine Shell on one guy.
Yep.
Good enough.
Hopefully one of the smaller minions, so that you get 2 guys stick through the Hellfire. Hellfire's Soulfire is going to come down here, I believe.
You could send Jin plus the Soulfire to buy yourself a turn to Siphon Soul, but you have to wipe off the entire board.
The Senjin just gets chowed down on by the 5/5. Can't feel too good. It's the most... I think you're happy if you get to turn 8 anyway, so...
Ouch.
Kings put him to 2, I guess.
Yeah, there's the King's play that puts you to 2, and you get to not get punished by a weapon, so you can just... By Ooze, that is, and you just True Silver afterwards. Siphon Soul comes out. It keeps him out of range exactly of the True Silver champion. He gets the Toss Dingo on the back of that, so he's still alive for now.
Surrender's riding the dream.
This is really close. Does he find the way? And he finds the kill with the Rallying Blade.
Yep, turn 6, 2 games in a row.
And that is the power of the aggro lineup that Naiman brought, taking out people who were prepared for other things.
Actually, I think he won on turn 6 3 times this series.
Sure, no problem. Mage, Paladin, and Warrior did a pretty good job of carrying Naiman. But it's interesting because at the beginning of the day, Firebat and I were discussing the value of that lineup. Since nobody was practicing against it, it comes with like hyper aggression. You're asking questions, nobody has answers. I think it's a really big upset, though. Nobody expected it to come out here.
I think in the best of 7 best of 7 format, you're almost forcefully going to have one of your decks that's going to be weak to the aggro. You can't have 4 anti-aggro decks in your lineup. Mm-hmm. And like in the best of 5, maybe it doesn't shine as much, but in the best of 7, I can actually see this being a very viable strategy.
Yeah, we were talking about Life Coach's lineup was the only one that felt like it was fully well-rounded to tackle Naiman's lineup. If you looked at the entire deck list, and even then, it could have been a blowout on one or two of the decks. If
The thing about playing against aggro is you can try to beat aggro, and then you're still going to lose a certain amount against aggro because aggro is just very powerful, and you might not have the right answers at the right time.
Right, like we saw a few games where Surrender had a good draw, and that helped him out a lot. But the games where he didn't have the optimal draw, suddenly that went completely kaput. So, Naiman, congratulations. You will be attending the live event. Surrender is not going to go there. So for the live event that is going to be happening on 8th and 10th of July, it's going to happen in Shanghai. The LAN finals will have Hoy, Stan, Sivka, Dr. Hippie, Naiman, Jab, and Sixo. So we have Dr. Hippie and Naiman from the same team. Sivka and Jab are now teamless, and Navi has 2 people representing them there. So we'll have more players as well coming from the Chinese division.
Definitely a pretty stacked lineup for sure.
Yeah, Sivka seems to always make it to the LAN finals for StarLadder. I don't know what's up with that.
I think he's really good at the game.
Yeah, I hear he practices a bit, right? Like 30 minutes, like every day.
More than my 15.
Yeah, honestly, Extensive Cup practices a ton. So that being said, guys, that will close off the online portion of the event. I hope to see you on the 8th to 10th of July. The event will be live in Shanghai. You don't have to show up, but watch the event on Twitch, of course. It's going to be from China. So take care. And from everyone, StarLadder and iLeague. Purple, any last words before we close off?
No, I think you summed it up really well, Noxious.
Have a nice one.